self-describedly picky with what metal I like, but I'm not here to pinpoint characteristics. Instead, I should say right out of the gate that I grouped these two releases together because I like them a whole big bunch. Yes, they look and sound evil, scary, a little bit lacking in humanity, but don't be fooled, I'd draw heart-shaped squiggles on their faces. Periphery's fourth album is genuinely the grittiest and potentially most filthily blood-soaked album yet, which is a far cry from the jovial tone of the title it was given, Hail Stan. That's a bit like Pissgrave dropping an EP and calling it Scrumptious Cornflakes. But for as much as I'd appreciated the dizzying Djent riffs and the complex rhythms that define the previous Periphery efforts, as well as that sense of height and airborne movement akin to skydiving, nothing in terms of individual tracks tend to stick to the wall all too much. It's all a fun ride, but it always seemed like a bit too much tomfoolery for 5 to 10 minute long tracks. Given that this new album begins with a 16-minute opener, I was a little bit apprehensive, but I was relieved to realise that Periphery IV shows the band sounding not only grittier than ever, but also the most focused they've been. That opening track alone has to be one of the standout things I've heard this year. Even if that track alone was just an EP, it'd be a standout release. But of course, it's followed up by more stellar tracks that are equal parts brutal and hellish and also fun and adventurous, which is a rather unusual contrast for a track named after the torture method Blood Eagle. The band's inevitable moments of clean vocals also show up. Spencer Sotelo will sing a little bit like an emo pop frontman, but this time those moments sound a lot more natural in context too. They really do seem like fitting moments of calm, like the sky clearing up before the next rush of hailstones and gore. It's a great release, not reinventing the band's sound, but rather honing in and really working on what can make an album a memorable experience. Even the unexpected synthwave inspired moments like Crush have a place in Periphery's fresh endeavours. They sound excellent. This whole album sounds excellent. It's a 7 out of 10. On the other hand, there are no moments of reassurance on the new Aoratos album, Gods Without Name. It's in the field of black metal, which only mildly worries me given the limitations of such a genre, focusing mostly on aesthetic for far too long to warrant album-length soundscapes, let alone when it's the early stuff. Those types of tape recordings that sound the same way that smudging a pastel crayon across a sheet of paper feels. It's never convincing to me. It honestly just makes me glad that we live in times where production quality improves tenfold, because it allows atmospheres to sound far larger in scope and like I'm genuinely trapped in a cloud of dungeon yellow smoke, about to cough my lungs out like Mario in that hazy maze cave. It's good to finally feel intimidated by a metal album again. Every riff explodes like a spirit slithering out of the ground. The drums actually sound like they're being beaten in the middle of a demonic war. It sounds engaging and enveloping, and perhaps to the biggest degree for any black metal album I've heard in general. The end of Parallax Part 2 actually sounds like trapped souls squealing at you. A part of Thresher makes me anxious because the guitar lines actually sound like warning sirens. This is that prize 8 out of 10 material, you feel me? I realize that both these releases divert from what makes their specializations appealing in the first place. Maybe Periphery are digressing from their playfulness, and maybe Aoratos are digressing from the traditional abrasive rawness of black metal by embracing such maximalist production. But at this point, honestly, all I can say is that I don't care about being faithful, which is a catchphrase that's bound to betray me after my marriage proposal.